Hi, welcome back to another episode of That's So Us. It's just gonna be me today, a solo episode. And I'm sorry, I'm not looking at my best right now. So there's not gonna be any video footage for this. It's just gonna be audio. And you know what? I've had to accept that it is okay because I really wanted to get ready for this and put myself out there and just be in that vulnerable state, but I can't be vulnerable and be ugly at the same time. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna work out. So, yeah, I decided to just do audio today. And also, I did want to wait to do this because I have another test coming up, doctor's appointment. It's called a Q-SART. Essentially, it tests to see how much salt is in your sweat, and it's used to determine, or I guess diagnose different things. So I'm doing that tomorrow. And well, actually, by the time this comes out, I will have already done it. And I hope that I will get the results very soon. I know last time whenever I got my echo done, the results came pretty quick. So I'm honestly trying my best to stay positive about everything. I'm actually jumping. Hold on one second. I'm in this episode going to be talking about my physical health journey and I guess my mental health stuff too. It really goes hand in hand. And I think the big reason why I wanted to talk about all of this, aside from documenting it for myself, especially because my memory has gotten so bad, it's so bad. If you thought it was worse, it was bad before, no, it is way worse now. It's actually really scaring me. And it used to be a long-term thing. Now it's just my short-term memory is just really not good. And so I think documenting all of this is gonna help me remember, and it might help me just talk about it out loud, bringing stuff up, getting stuff off my chest. And obviously, I hope putting it out there is gonna help somebody, especially if there's someone who is going through the exact same situation or having similar symptoms, and they can really just benefit from hearing a real a real person's perspective on, I guess, Western medicine too, because it's kind of honestly so annoying. I have been down that route of the pharmaceutical industry and just seeing so many different doctors and different specialists, multiple cardiologists and spinal doctors and physical therapists, chiropractors, pain management doctors, literally so many doctors I can't even begin to describe. Especially this year, it's been the most doctor's visits that I've ever had, honestly, in my whole entire life. And it also makes me so sad thinking about how my life used to be and how much unknowingly I took for granted, because health is just so important. And if you're able to even go and get out of bed and run around without being in pain, oh my gosh, I would give anything to be back in to be back there again. But at the same time, I really can't have that mindset because I know that whatever I put out is what I'm going to get in return. And so I don't want to put out negativity and just constantly think of the version of me without pain as the better version, because I feel like I know a lot more now. I feel like I'm a lot stronger, I think, and I'm able to stand up for myself a lot more and advocate, especially in these doctor's appointments where I'm just being surrounded by so many people who think that they're like higher than me in like intelligence level just because they have a degree. And like I get it, you went to school for that, absolutely. Like you definitely are book smart. um but at the same time, I feel like I've done so much research. Obviously not to that level. Like let me just say, I'm no doctor, but I've done so much research, and not just like Western medicine stuff, but also like Eastern and like Chinese medicine, and just the whole like holistic route of things, which I feel like a lot of doctors nowadays don't really look into, I guess. Because they think of all of your symptoms as like a unit and like one singular thing, and they don't really separate it into like mind and body, and like it's strange to me, honestly. I mean, I get at the end of the day it's all because of money and like getting more money and like essentially making people more sick to just make more money, because if they're solely focusing on surface level symptoms, you're not finding the root of the cause and of the problem. And where the root may very well be like a physical symptom or a physical like condition, disease, whatever, it could also be like emotional trauma, which I'll get into, or just like mental stuff. But that also can stem from emotional trauma. So I feel like without that level of knowledge, you can only go so far in like Western medicine. And so I've definitely taken like both approaches to it, because also at the end of the day, it's like I go into these doctor's appointments and I've gotten, honestly, what, I've been having all of these symptoms since it was like what, 2019. Well, 2016 is when like my migraine started. But then the back pain and like all of the chronic pain started 2019, 2020. And I've gone to all of these doctors and gotten certain like tests done and like MRIs and whatever, and everything has come back normal. And so many doctors have just been like, everything's fine, you're fine, like it's all in your head. And it honestly frustrates me so much, the fact that doctors are so quick to judge and just be like, oh, it's all in your head, when in reality there could be something else going on, and you're just like not doing your job as a doctor and looking for that other thing and like looking for the root of the problem. And I've only had one doctor out of every doctor I've seen, and he wasn't even like my doctor. He was filling in for my doctor because she was on maternity leave. And he was like, I know that it's so frustrating when all you get back is normal like testing, but it's not normal to be in pain and like continue to advocate for yourself. He's the only doctor, I promise you, who's ever said that, and it almost made me cry. Still thinking about it makes me emotional, because he's the only person who's ever, honestly, doctor or not, he's the only person who's ever given me like that much reassurance of like, keep going, you will get an answer. Like, I shouldn't have to be living in pain. And again, there's so many people who are like, it's all in your head, but like there's such different ways of saying this is all in your head, because that sentence right there to me is like, you're crazy. Like, you're imagining it. It's all in your head. When it could just be it could very well be a brain issue where it's like there's a disconnect with like the pain receptors, or I don't know, like my nervous system is so like not balanced or whatever. So I'm experiencing so much pain. And like there's just so many different ways that you could say that, but the whole like it's all in your head, like you're making shit up. I'm like, It's literally so crazy to me. And it makes me sad because there's so many people who would have just stopped at like the last thing that my doctor told me was, I'm going to send you to pain management. And that's it. First of all, they gave me a steroid shot, okay, for my back pain. And I walk in there and there's like so many different individuals in wheelchairs, and they're like maybe 80 plus, sorry, 80 or older. And I'm like a 22-year-old at the time walking in there, or 23. And getting a steroid shot in my back. And the doctor's like, oh, you can come back every 3 to 4 months to get more. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that for the rest of my life. Did it help? I think it helped with the inflammation. I think it helped with the pain. It wasn't a long-term solution. It's really only a band-aid. And I think that's the help that so many doctors give. But like I was saying, I just feel bad for the people who would have just stopped there, because so many people would have, especially when you are in pain and you aren't in a good mental state. You don't want to get up and go to doctor's appointments. You don't want to get up and call the doctor or speak on the phone, say you have anxiety. Like, so many people don't want to do it. I know you have to like push yourself and whatever, but like it is so hard and it's so much easier said than done. Trust me. But it is sad that the doctors aren't like more, I guess just in general, the healthcare system just isn't up to par. Because people also pay so much for it. Thankfully, I have insurance, but like people pay so much to get shitty care. And I am grateful for the care that I have been getting, but at the same time, I feel frustrated that I have to continue to call and like call one doctor and tell them to resend the tests or the results because the other doctor haven't received it, and like the whole back and forth with the phone calls and just like calling different offices. I'm like, this is your job. There's literally a button when I call that says press 1 if you're a provider. Like, you can do this. I don't know why it's like being put on the patient to do everything, especially when they're ill. And it's like the last thing we want to do is like have to remember to call. And like, I have memory loss. The fact that I even remember to do all that shit is like, it says a lot. And also, let me just throw out like my symptoms, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know to the full extent. Or when I say that I have like chronic pain, it's not just like, oh, like I feel sore as if I had just worked out when I haven't. Like, the pain genuinely feels like, and I can't say this for sure because I've never been stabbed, obviously, but it feels like somebody is taking a knife and stabbing me in the back like multiple times and like twisting the knife. And I'm just like, that is not normal. That should not be happening. And it radiates from that spot on my back to like now my lower back. It goes and stretches across my ribs, my shoulder, my neck, my head, like my scalp. My scalp is like tender. My scalp hurts. Like, I remember growing up, my mom would just be like, you say that everything hurts, like even your eyelashes. And I'm like, dude, because everything hurts. Everything hurts. And now thinking about it, it's like I've been in pain for so long of my life, and I've just like put it off to the side or whatever. And I have a really high pain tolerance. And I guess I really didn't take it that seriously growing up. But I think because I didn't take it seriously, it's kind of all catching up to me now in like the worst way. And aside from all of like the pain, which I get like random pain in my arm and my legs, like shooting pain, like numbness down my spine, like I have numbness in my thigh. Most of the pain is on my left side. But it's really the main spots are like my mid back, left side, in between my shoulder blade and my spine. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like right in that area, and like I don't know if it's like a muscle pain, I don't know if it's a bone pain. It just feels so it just feels like the pain is internal, like it's in my organs. Like what? And so I'm just thinking, what is on my left side? Okay, I know that my spleen is on that side, my pancreas, and your stomach, and again, your spleen, your pancreas, your colon. So literally everything just like on that left side inside of my body hurts. And so I believe that it is a tissue issue. It's an issue with my tissues, with the surrounding tissues in my body, because literally your whole body is made up of tissues and fascia, and I feel like if there's way too much inflammation and tension, that your body goes into overload and just like attacks itself essentially and causes chronic pain. And so I feel like there's like a lot of things that I think are wrong with me, and okay, so number one, I have finally been diagnosed with POTS. So POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia, and it's essentially like your nervous system freaking out, like real bad, because you're changing positions. It's positional, so you can go from like laying to sitting, or sitting to standing, or laying to standing, and essentially having a consequence within my autonomic nervous system. And like in general, like when we stand up, our vestibular system has to sense that we're not, like we're standing up, right? And gravity pulls blood from your head to your feet, and then you have a system that counteracts that to get your blood pressure up so that you can get blood to the brain. But with POTS, when I have low blood pressure, the proper response is that my heart rate tries to kick in and go really high to then allow blood pressure to increase as well and find that baseline. But that system is what fails in my body with POTS. And so there's just this imbalance within my autonomic nervous system. And I experience like symptoms that people experience like before they're gonna pass out. So like dizziness or lightheadedness. My vision will go blurry, or like I'll see like, you know, like static on TV. Like I'll like see that in my mind, in my brain. And it'll go like blurry until it goes black. And then my ears ring, and like I'll just like fall right back down. And thankfully, this really just happens when I wake up in the morning. And all my life, my parents have always just been like, oh, you just get up from bed way too fast. And like, yeah, sure, possibly, right? But like, I finally have a name for it now. And so I've done everything to try to balance that out. And I've seen my POTS doctor now, and she says to just drink more water and up my salt intake because my body needs salt, and to wear like compression socks and whatever. And the issue is that like I've done all of that for so long, and I have gotten better at all of those things, but like I still am experiencing that feeling of like passing out, and I have recently passed out more often than I've ever had before. So it's like instead of getting better, it's actually getting worse, and I don't really know why. And the big thing with POTS is that, like, it does affect your heart. So a lot of people go to the cardiologist, but the root of the issue, I think it's not even a heart problem. It's like a problem with your nervous system. And so you have to really learn how to like reset your nervous system and balance everything out. And that's why I went to Florida for like a month, because I was really needing to just be outside and like in the sun and by the beach, and I was outside by the pool like tanning like almost every day. And I just think that it helped a lot, but at the same time I was still dealing with like all of the symptoms that I've been dealing with. And when I was there, I like passed out like 2 times, and then the one time I was at the grocery store, I felt like I was about to pass out so bad. It was so bad. So I still don't really know like if there's anything else that I could be doing, or I don't want to do different medications. I really don't. But I don't know if there is anything else besides like physically trying to like rework and rewire my nervous system. Because also when I was in Florida, I went to different therapies. I did myofascial release, and that honestly, it taught me a lot about just fascia in general, and how like fascia is like the web in your body that like connects everything essentially. And I don't even know how to explain it. It's like it connects your tissues, or not your tissues, it connects your joints and your muscles and your bones. And if there's not like steady like movement, I guess, and if it's constantly super tense, your body's going to be inflamed. There's going to be a lot of tension, and there's going to be a restriction in your fascia. And so obviously it's going to be difficult to like move around. You're going to experience pain in your body because your fascia is like so tensed up. And so the myofascial release releases all of that. And you have to go like to multiple sessions to like release whatever you have to release. And a lot of it is like rooted in emotional like pain that's stored in your body, because your body stores trauma even if that traumatic experience has left your brain. Your physical body still experiences that like trauma, and you have to work really, really hard to heal that, to then release everything from your body. But the thing is, I don't know how much I need to release, because it's like I've gone to 3 different sessions, and then I did craniosacral therapy, which is more so just like the therapist feels your energy. I know it sounds kind of like woo-woo sort of, but it's like not. And I hate that that's the stigma that comes with like holistic medicine. And but it's just like so true. It's like we're all energy. And some people just have better intuition when it comes to like feeling that, and they can tell you exactly what's wrong with your body. Or like muscle testing, I want to get that done too. I think that that's like super interesting to me, because it is more than just like a physical thing. It's like intertwined with psychology and like pseudoscience, and I just think it's super interesting, like neurology of it all. Like I think it's really interesting. I've learned a lot. I don't know. I've just never thought at like 25 years old, I get to a point where like I wake up in the morning and the amount of pain I'm in, which is a direct result of like years and years of pushing the threshold, like not listening to my body, constantly pleasing others around me or putting my life on pause for other people, just like for what? So they could be like proud of me, or like I don't even know. Like I guess constantly being like an overachiever, especially like in school. I don't know, I pushed my body so far when my body was crying just to be still. And I just did not regulate my nervous system at all. And I feel like I know a lot now. Mostly, honestly, because I was recommended this book called The Body Keeps the Score. Actually, Madison Beer recommended it. And it like actually really stuck with me. A lot of the things that the author was talking about. His name is Bessel van der Kolk, and he's a neuroscientist and a psychiatrist and author again. And he spoke a lot about like mainstream psychology and psychiatry and how that looks, and how all of those like doctors look at patients and say that there's something wrong with them that they need to fix, whereas individuals who like actually understand trauma know that there is nothing wrong that needs to be fixed, because trauma actually caused your body to like shut down and it just needs to be healed. And so the wording is so different because like the attitudes are different. So the intention behind the healing will be different too. And I think it's just so important who like you go see and like which doctors you really like lean on for support, or therapists or whatever. Because again, not everyone understands trauma and the way that it reacts in your body. Like trauma in general too, it's not an unusual experience. Like it's very common, and there's so many people that think that like a traumatic experience is like, oh, like experiencing PTSD because you were in the military, or like I don't know, like holding your mother while like she died, or like super like big traumas, you know what I mean? But everyone experiences trauma, like even the smallest things. Like, and I'm not saying like verbal abuse is small, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's smaller than like say being in the military and seeing like so many people die, you know? So like a verbal abuse, still very traumatic. And the military example, again, very traumatic, but they're two different levels of traumatic, but it's also per individual. Like it's not the same for everyone. And for one person, say like the person who went in the military, say that their family members ended up more traumatized because they had to live with like the fear that their son or brother or whatever wouldn't, or daughter, sister, wouldn't come back. And on like the other hand, the person experiencing like the verbal abuse may not even think it was as traumatic as like the siblings. I don't know if that made any sense. It made sense in my head, but I hope that made sense. But at the end of the day, that's all to say that an experience like enters into your five senses and goes down to a very primitive part of your brain called the amygdala, and that automatically interprets what's going on, and it determines whether the situation that you're in is actually dangerous or if it's safe. And then you can determine whether or not an event is traumatic when there's nothing that you can do to like stave off the inevitable, and your body then enters the state of like fight or flight or collapse also, because it's like I have no clue what to do. Your nervous system is like freaking out, and your body also can shut down. So that essentially can be so different per individual. And then as an adult, like continuing to react to like mild stressors as if your life is in danger then triggers you to become super hyperactive even though the event itself is like over. And so you like get angry or your anger turns into rage just because you were triggered by one little thing, but that one little thing, which could be seen as little in like your adult self, actually triggered your childhood self because it was so much of a bigger deal when that stressor happened in your childhood. And so because you never healed from that in your childhood, then your adult self is like paying the price. And it thinks that like you're still in danger even when you're not. And so treating trauma is essentially just helping people live in bodies that feel safe. And I feel like growing up, we're not really taught that at all. We're not really taught, at least in my family, because of like religious reasons. It was more so just like, just pray about it, you know, just pray the pain away. And like, I am spiritual. I believe in God. I have a lot of faith in Him and the power of prayer. But at the end of the day, too, it's like, you can't just sit back and pray. Nothing's going to change if you don't actually act, you know? And same thing with healing. It's like nothing's going to change unless you actually take steps to heal, whether that is workbooks or reading or researching or watching videos, testimonials, like, or again, you know, leaning on faith and going to church or exercising, putting yourself out there, socializing, like whatever it may be. It just takes a lot of work, and I'm trying, emphasis on trying, to really get out of like the mindset of, oh, I'm going to be stuck like this for the rest of my life. Because that's just not going to give me any motivation to like keep trying, you know what I mean? And it's really hard. It is really hard. Also, it's like trauma in general just like changes the brain and behavior, and a lot of it is based on childhood trauma, and it shapes how you function as an adult in like relationships and just like emotionally, mentally, and physically. Especially when it comes to relationships though, like if you're not healed from your traumas and if you still have this like anxious or avoidant attachment styles, it's like just very unhealthy. Hence why I've also never been in a relationship, because I know how I am. I know that per relationship is so different, but like say in like romantic relationships, I'm very much more like anxious and like constantly needing reassurance. Whereas in like friendships, it's more so like avoidant, and I'm like, okay, you're boring, like get away from me. Or also it's like I've been hurt before and people always leave me, so I'm going to be the first one to leave, but then I like end up hurting them. And it's just like this constant vicious cycle. So that's why at the end of the day, I'm like trying to really just heal myself as much as I can, and also like be like confident about that journey and about who I am and who I've become and where it's going to take me, and not having to like put that on someone else, or also feeling like you have to like help someone and like fix them, because that's also not your job to do, especially if the other person doesn't want to be fixed. Well, I hate saying the word fix, but like help healed. Help, now I can't speak. they don't want help healing. I don't know. It's just a lot to think about also. And it's really challenging. That's also why it's like, I always say healing isn't linear. It's a lifelong journey. And when your safety is like compromised, our nervous system defaults to sympathetic activation, like fight or flight, and like just shutting down and like freeze and disconnection. And I think my body has just been in this constant state of like fight or flight without even meaning to be. Like it's just subconsciously there. And so I've had all this pain. I do think that it is more, though. There's something so much more than just, like, I definitely do think that it is, like, trauma related and related to the fact that I have a lot of stress and just inflammation, tension that needs released, whatever, all that. But I don't know. Ever since I was little, I've always thought that there was, like, something more. And I can't explain that. Like, I wish I could go further in depth with that, but it's, like, kind of dark. So, like, I'm not going to, but I don't know. I've always felt like there's something wrong. My intuition's never wrong. So, I don't know. Also, I feel like everyone thinks that when, like, you're chronically ill, that you're, like, faking being sick, or you're just, like, being lazy, and, like, you don't want to work, and you don't want to get up, you don't want to, like, socialize, or get out, or whatever. But nobody understands how much I'm actually faking being okay just to survive, honestly. Like, just to survive each day. I'm, like, trying to push through. Ew, I'm gonna cry. It makes me emotional. I'm gonna stop there, or else I'm gonna literally get so emotional that I can't speak. That was just, like, a lot of ranting and venting. Hopefully all of that made sense. Literally, I'm in a lot of pain currently. Also, hence why I did not want to be on camera, because I've just not been feeling good. But yeah, all that being said, definitely work on healing yourself mentally and emotionally and physically, and more than just like talk therapy. I think somatic therapies can help, and like EDMR or EMDR. EMDR. I think that's it. I've never done it, but that therapy I've heard, like, it's like bilateral stimulation. I've heard it's like really good. EMS therapy, or like myofascial release, craniosacral therapy. Again, all of these therapies that are like really helpful are also the ones that are not covered by insurance. So you wonder why, right? It's like they know what they're doing because it actually helps, but it is pretty expensive. So I think starting off slowly and working your way to like the root of the problem is gonna help. And if you're someone who has experienced this before, and like these symptoms and just like the pain and the headaches and like the chronicness of it all and the fatigue, oh my gosh, I didn't even get into the fatigue, but it's like I can just like pass out from like how tired I am anywhere, specifically after I eat, but like anywhere, anytime, I can just like go to sleep. I'm just exhausted. Doesn't matter if I get like 12 hours of sleep at night, I could wake up exhausted and need a nap at like 1 o'clock. It's so weird. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that, but yeah, the fatigue is bad. And all the other symptoms is just like trying your hardest to just if you've experienced any of those symptoms, feel free to DM me on that'sos.podcast on Instagram. Yeah, I would love to hear your guys' stories, or if you've, experienced similar situations and similar symptoms and have already gone through like the whole thing of like getting diagnosed with certain things. Definitely feel free to reach out. Or also, if you're like going through stuff now and you don't feel like you have a good like support system or someone to talk to, like definitely reach out. I'll definitely like talk with you. It's also just really lonely being, I guess, confined. I mean, I don't know, it's like I'm kind of doing it to myself in a way, self-sabotage. But also it's like my body hurts so much that I'm like bedridden almost. I don't know, but it is like it gets lonely. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little journey. I'll definitely keep you guys updated. And yeah, I think next week or in the next 2 weeks will be an episode with Amanda. So let us know what you guys want us to talk about. And yeah, tune in next time. How is this still awkward ending it whenever it's just me? It's so funny. Okay, I'm gonna go. Bye.